Hello, hello, and happy Monday. Today's topic is how we inadvertently give our power away and how to take it back. So, one of the things I want to say, first of all, is welcome anybody who hasn't been here before, and welcome to everyone who is coming today and who will watch the replay. Um, I hope you're having a fantastic day. The first question would be, what do I mean by giving our power away? We don't even know. We don't know where our power is, and we don't know we're giving it away. But when you need someone else to like, appreciate, or um, approve of what you want to do or what you're trying to do. Hi, Christina. How are you today? That is giving our power away. And we don't realize it because, it's in society. When you have your own business, you have lawyers and bankers and different people that give you advice. And it's meant to be advice that we sort through and decide which fits with us and which doesn't. But what ends up happening so many times is that we think that, and other people will tell us, like, your banker will tell you with authority that oh yes, Kimberly, so many different ways we can give it away, and so many different ways we do all day, every day, and we do it to ourselves too. This conversation today is more about how we're giving it away to others. But when we don't believe in ourselves, when we don't trust that we are actually meant to do things and that we have the power and the magic in us, we give it away ourselves. We block it, we give it away. And then we look for others' approval, or we need others. I've spent a tremendous part of my life and needing others to approve of me, and actually feeling like I had to, get them to like me or approve of me. That was a way to show that I had worthiness. I didn't feel worthy without it. And it's so important that we realize, and there's so many different ways you can come to becoming more comfortable with your own worthiness. And so there's not one right way. For me, in struggling with it, what helped me so much, and still does help me because I still have to revisit this, is if I believe everyone is worthy, I'm just as worthy as everyone else, not less than. And so it's not about, I'm in believing in my worthiness, I'm not taking anything away from anybody else, because I honestly believe that every single person, regardless of where they come from, what they've done, their religious, none of that matters. Everyone is the same worthy. Oh, it absolutely starts as a child, Kimberly. And it's not even family. I mean, it is family, but it's not just family. If you go to school, a lot of times you're trying, I was the, what they call an overachiever. I was always trying to make the perfect grades and be whatever other people thought that made me a good person. And so I wasn't so aware of who I was, what I really wanted. Hey, Debbie, great to see you today on our group. And hi, Cindy. Yes, great to see you too. And so worthiness, comes from within, but we are often taught that we're supposed to be what other people tell us to be. That's why we lose track of who we are, and we don't understand that we don't need anybody else's approval to be who we are. And sometimes things happen either as a child and as an adult or an adult that make us feel like a victim. And as long as we still feel like a victim, or we're still angry or hurt by the other person, they still have power over us. Even if we're not speaking to them anymore, they're making us sad or upset or angry, the feelings for that. And so they still have our power. And so that's giving away our power to get to live an extraordinary life. And when we give our power away in victim type situations, and that's so many, so we use that word and we think of it, but in a marriage that's not equal, we can be that way. Or if you're in an accident and you feel like a victim, you feel like it was unfair, or it was unfair because your car wasn't paid for and you didn't get the full amount, and it's a real financial hardship. These are victim situations we don't always think of, but when we still feel that way and we're still angry about it, the good things can't come because we're blocking them with those feelings. And we're able to say, you know what? I know everything's going to be okay. And I know that I can get a brand new car, or I know that I can take back my power. Or if it's a person that has done something to you, especially, well, really anytime. But you know, it's, when we're a victim, sometimes the hardest thing is getting our power back because we're so angry at the other person that took it. And to get it back permanently so nobody can take it is finding a way to release that permanently and then take your power back. Because once you do that, and an example would be um, like in a difficult marriage, you know, a lot of times at the, you know, your conversation when you talk to other people, it's all about what he or she did. And all of those conversations, we're still giving our power away. And we don't feel good when we're having those conversations. When we're able to get to the point, and this is just one way of being able to let go of that. And for me, it was, you know what? However bad this person, and there's several different, you know, circumstances, is or were to me, they're doing the best they can with the tools they have, with the things that happen to them. Because people don't become mean or do these things. They don't get up in the morning and say, gosh, I'm going to go be mean today. They get up full of anger and hurt and all the things that they didn't know how to process from things that have happened to them. And then it just comes out on other people. And so if I can just let that go and not go, it's not my job to change them, but it is my job to release all of that so I have my power back. You know, and family, you know, when I sold my business, that is something that would not be recommended by my banker, you know, my financial advisors, any of those. And, but I knew in my heart that that's what I was supposed to do and that I was supposed to move on into something different. If I stayed in that business and tried to follow the parameters of what they would say would be the right time to sell it, I would never get there because it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't where the magic was anymore. It had done its time and it was time for me to move on and do something else. But that's not what society says. And so you have to make peace with that, right? And you have to trust that the right things are coming at the right time and that, you know, when you ask advice, you still get to discern if that advice is right for you or not. But we take it as sacred, and then we're mad at them because that advice doesn't agree with who we are, who we want, what we want to do. So it's not my banker's job to know what my connection to source is and or God, you know, and who I really am and what I should do. It's his job from a financial point to be conservative and make recommendations based on that. But I'm going to drown if I do what he's recommending because not it's not the place where I am meant to be at this point. Our lives can change, and following those and learning to line up and connect with ourselves, that's what How to Build an Extraordinary Life is about. Connecting again with you. I would love, because I know we've had some questions in the past on here about, you know, how do we change the conversations when someone is negative, or because when we stay in those negative conversations, even if we're not saying anything, we are participating and we are continuing that negativity that affects us. You know, you walk away from those conversations or you hang up the phone and you're exhausted. You don't want to talk to anybody else. The things that you were going to do don't feel good anymore because you don't feel good. So, how do we get out of those conversations that are sucking the energy out of us? And how do we, you know, do it in a kind way? So while we start that conversation, I'd love to hear any specifics any of you guys have around, or, you know, it doesn't have to name names, obviously, but this conversation occurs. How do I deal with that? And some of it is really getting to the point where we're okay allowing some space to happen between us and people we love so that we can reclaim our power. Because you can't talk them into giving you your power, you have to take it back. And we've had a little conversations around this before because it's super important and it is everything. Like it's something we all deal with every day. And I mean, I'll be going along and realize, oh, I just gave my power away. And that's part of it too. How do you recognize when you gave it away? When you don't feel good, when you are excited about something and looking forward to it, and then you have a conversation or you reach out to somebody and you get feedback that you weren't expecting and you don't feel good about it, you've given them your power. Christina says, I think for me, sometimes I'm so used to responding one way or being polite, I don't even realize I'm giving. Exactly. And so the first way to recognize it is to realize you don't feel good. Like you're having this conversation and you're politely answering and you feel like crap. If that is the case, you are giving them your power and you are allowing them to, and I say allowing, and really you can say choosing, not because you intended to, but because you're not recognizing it, to let them make you feel bad. And so part of the problem is we don't feel powerful enough to, or worthy enough to choose to not have that conversation or to change the conversation. And if they don't respond, say, you know what, I love you. I got to go now because I'm worthy of more than allowing you to make me feel bad. You don't say that to them. That's your thought process. Because getting into an argument with them doesn't ever change it. And we've all done it. We'll do it again as you figure it out because so many times if it's somebody like your mom or your sister or your significant other, or you really want their approval, you really want them to see your side of it, but that's actually giving away your power. They get to see your side of it when you're just unabridgedly, this is who I am, love you, gotta go. Debbie says, right. For me, I keep having to remember I don't have to answer. Yeah, that was one of the most empowering things I ever learned. And listen, this was just a few years ago. When somebody said that and I got it, I was blown away. The power that you get back when you realize you don't have to, and you don't have to explain yourself. You do not have to explain and get approval. If for instance, I had to be late to a class yesterday, and it came up late. And I realized that I just had to explain it and say, do you want me to just sign up and take a different class? Or how do you want me to do this? Because the soonest I can be here is this. And they said, show up. I didn't try to explain it. So then I didn't have to get into, is this fair? Is this, because it was something that for me was a non-negotiable. I didn't have an option. But I didn't need them to decide whether it was a non-negotiable or not. I just needed them to tell me what works best for you in this scenario, and I'll do whatever it is. And then I didn't feel bad. I would have felt terrible if I was trying to explain it and get their approval. And that's what I've learned the hard way. Often answer, then kick myself. Debbie, I so understand that because I speak before I think half the time anyway, right? Barbara says, I need to learn to trust my own decisions. Yes. And you know what? Here's the thing. When we say this is something that I'm going with, and I've really stepped up in really, really honing in on this because in building my new business, I felt like I need to ask the experts, right? And I need to get their approval. And then, 3 or 4 days later, the moment to seize is gone. And then you realize, you know what? No, you don't. You need to go out and do what it feels is the right thing to do and course correct as you go. You're not going to burn any bridges as long as you're not being mean, which is never the case. You just get out there, do it, and then see what's working and what's not. Um, and that's how you learn to trust your own decisions is you start just doing it. And then seeing what happens from that. And then don't beat yourself. The other thing we do that just kills us and makes us not want to make our own decisions is if it doesn't go exactly like we wanted it to, we start beating ourselves up. I should. No, no, no. Just go, oh, okay. Well, that's how that went. How could I do it differently if I want a different response? And then go try that. And so be kind to yourself as you do, then you're going to start getting good at it and life is going to get so much easier. It's like, I don't have to have the right answer before I start. Nobody can give me the right answer before I start. That's part of the problem with us really stepping out and being as big as we're meant to be and own our power. Debbie said, it always stumps my mom when I ask her why she's asking. The other thing I would say about that is, I don't know for sure, but I know with my mom, she asked questions that were none of her business. And then I felt obligated to answer, which then really created difficulty because I didn't feel good about it. She was invading my then I just didn't want to talk to her, which hurt her feelings. And then I finally learned to say, that's really not up for discussion now. I love you, but that's not up for discussion. At first, she would get her feelings hurt, but then she realized we were still getting to have a conversation instead of me just disappearing and not wanting to have a conversation. Like, I love you, I got to go, and we don't talk for a while because she could never understand where that line was. So I had to provide it for her. And I had to be willing to provide it for her every time she went over the line. Oh, sorry, that's not up for discussion. Because she did not know, where that was. Kimberly says, I'm struggling with my business partners. I get so tired of leaving a conversation and feeling depleted. We just aren't on the same page. Somehow I need to be strong enough to use my voice and have it come. You know what? It's not a matter of being strong enough to come, because that implies that you need their approval. Um, and and you can't get there. Like you said, you're not on the same page, but sometimes you can get there by simply being willing to be who you are. And then if the conversation is exhausting, and that's something we might need to have some private discussions around, just to give you some tools, which I'm happy to do. And that brings up the point, I do personal coaching, and I do have a free one-on-one consult to see if it's a fit for you. But yes, some of it in taking your power back is, it's hard to get to a point where you're like, when you're trying to use your voice and explain and they're on a different page, and it's hard because it's a business partner, so you need their agreement, but sometimes you have to find a way to agree to disagree in order to get your power back, and then to be able to just state your point. And if they don't agree, financially, you guys might have to figure out how you do that, but you don't worry anymore about their approval or getting them to agree. This is what I see. This is what I see needs to happen. If they're not on the same page, you just continue to say that and move on. And you don't try to argue them into it, but you find a way to function in your part of the job while continuing to note what you see would help, and not engaging in a long, exhausting conversation about it. you know if you have to do it in a way where you get bullet points from them, and then you look through those bullet points, that's something, yes, that would work, this will work, not in agreement on that. You might go about it that way. Really get the personal out of it, though, as this is a business relationship. Don't take it personally they don't agree. Figure out from a business point what you see that could work or should be done. If there's anything you can take from what they're doing that could be useful, because if you can see any of theirs and you can say, that's a good point, I like that, that's really going to help the conversation. So if you can look at it objectively, if there's one thing out of 10, focus on the one thing that you can do and agree on. And maybe that's all you do at that point. Find the points you can agree on, work with those, don't discuss the rest for a while. And this, I'm talking to you, Kimberly, in terms of trying to get your gaining power again in your business relationships without the exhausting thing of trying to get them to approve of what you're seeing. I hope this makes sense, because you're amazing and you're worthy of that for sure. And these are little ways we give it back, is that we feel like we have to convince people, and there's a point where you can't. You simply have to find that place where you are. But if you can look for anything to care. So another thing, if you're in a difficult relationship, like business partnerships or coworkers or family members, and you're having this rub with them, look for the positive aspects of those people. Even if you journal it every day, and focus on that. When you're getting ready to have a conversation with them, prep yourself ahead of time with focusing on the good in them. Because when you do that, you'll start to bring out that better part of them in conversation, which is another way to change that relationship. Is that, and you're going to then have a conversation and walk away exhausted because you have a long pattern. Like, you've been with these people for a while, you're going to fall back into some of those. But don't get mad at yourself when you come out of that. Instead, brainstorm with yourself. Such a different way to look at it. And it really helps, because beating ourselves up is so disempowering, and that's how we take our power away from ourselves. Instead, you go, okay, when did that conversation start to not go right? Oh, I started explaining this and this, and I was trying to get them to see here. What do I want to do differently? I want to, and also I started noticing the things about them that irritate me because, it's already ingrained in your brain. You've been noticing the things that are irritating you for a while, or that you don't agree with. Now you're changing your focus and trying to focus on the good parts of them. If there's only one, Focus on the one. And then after a bit, you'll see two. Focus on the two. And that's how you can, and when you walk away and you lost that focus, you just regain it. You just keep practicing it, because all of a sudden you'll find that you have now created a different relationship. And you may find, two different outcomes can come from this. As you're working through this and looking for the best parts of them, something else may come up that allows you the freedom to go and do something else. Or as you continue to work at seeing the best parts of, because when we're in a struggle and we're feeling like things are difficult, the better solution can't come when we're in that mode and not feeling good about it. And so that's the importance of understanding that how you feel inside is your PowerPoint. And it's when you're lined up with yourself, your source, God, universe. And when you're feeling bad, that's when you're not. Um, and then as you work on that relationship, at the finding the best parts of those people and focusing on the best parts and figuring out how you can function in that relationship, focusing on the best parts, the other thing that can happen is you can end up with a beautiful new relationship, a business that's thriving, all because you knew how to change your focus, gain back your power, which in turn actually gave them their power back, but initiated an even more even balance. As you see the best in them, they start seeing the best in you, and it changes the balance tremendously. And it's hard work at first, because all of you, if there's more than one business partner, are ingrained in these struggles that you've been having, and this thought process that your brain just goes back to that negative. See, one of the things our brains does is it gets in a rut and it goes right back. If you had beautiful experiences, one person, and you have one that was a little challenging, it'll go back to the beautiful. But the other thing around is, if you're having a struggle with somebody, it automatically goes to the negative response immediately. And you have to stop and think, wait, that's my automatic response, but is that even real? Is that right? So that's, some of the ways that we give our power away, and some wonderful ways to get your power back, because you're worthy of it, and because you're meant for so much more than you're allowing yourself. We all are. And it's an ongoing day-to-day thing for me. And I realized just recently, and just as I told you, oh, I'm giving my power away here because I'm doubting my decisions. I'm reaching for somebody else, some expert to tell me, and you're the expert of your life, period, even when you're doing something new. And if you just go with that gut level, you're going to be right more than 90% of the time, or close to right. Like, it'll take you to the next step that gets righter. And righter, that's not necessarily a word, but that's how it works. Is you have to, and so when you don't beat yourself up, and you go, okay, that was the outcome. How can I have a better outcome? Oh, this is how I can have maybe I'll try this. And then you do that, and it's a little better. And then don't take it personally. I've been afraid to step out and do more lives for, some of it's technology, some of it's what will people say. You have to get over that. There are going to be, just like, there's going to be people who say negative things. And the thing is that that's their perception. Everybody's perception comes from when the moment they were born all the way up. That's why none of us has the same perception. And we're not meant to. We're not meant to all think alike. And so they're just talking from their perspective. You don't have to own that perspective. You don't have to take it personal. And then you can look at it and say, is there something good I can take out of that? Is there something I can use out of that? Or is it useless and I don't need to? You could take something out of it without taking it personal. And that's a huge part of getting your power back too. Not taking it personal when other people disagree with you, say mean things about you. That's why it really is important to understand that what other people say about you really truly is none of your business. Right? As long as you line up with doing your best to be your best every day, and knowing that your best one day is not the same as another day, and being kind to yourself in all of those situations. And it gives you the opportunity to be so much more kinder to others when they don't have that power. Because if my coworker is having a horrible day, and I think that in order for me to have a good day, they got to be having a good day, now I'm mad at them, because I look at them as messing up my day. So I don't have any compassion. I'm just mad. If I know that I'm in charge of my happiness and my coworker is miserable and I know that I'm okay and then I can be kinder to that's why it's so important. To know that you have complete power over your emotions, no one else does, and that you don't have the power to control theirs either. So you didn't make them mad, you didn't make them sad. Even if you have to apologize for something, they still chose their reaction to it. You just have to own what you said and who you mean to be and be as kind as possible about that. Christina says, that's been so helpful, honestly. When you talk about your best isn't going to be the same every day, I stopped judging myself so much if I wasn't as. Yes! Yes, because what does productivity mean? Sometimes the non-productive days actually accomplish more because aha moments come and beautiful connections happen. And I mean, this weekend was tough because I stayed, so many hours after my shift to do surgery on a dog, not charging for my surgery, because it was something that I felt was so important. Well, it changed my plans because I still had the CPR class to go to all day yesterday and I was exhausted. And so it changed this morning. And I started to beat myself up for this morning. And then I was like, wait, I did all of these things because that was the right thing to do in the moment. And right now, then that the self-care that needs to happen this morning, so I'm in good recovery, ready for the rest of the week, is perfect for today and is what it needed to be. And so I stopped beating myself up and remembered why I was exhausted this morning and slept through the first alarm, and you know what I'm saying, and realized that every single bit of what I did was the right choices in those moments. And so is this morning. I don't need to beat myself up for that. I just need to be kind to myself. Christina says, exactly, I felt a lot better since I started. Yes, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. That I 100% that filled my heart up for days and weeks, to do that surgery and save that dog, and and pay for it, because otherwise that dog would have had to been put to sleep. And she's a precious angel now for someone who is going to benefit tremendously for years from her. And so that's, I did what I was called to do. And then, as Barbara said, started to second guess myself because it did change the trajectory of the entire weekend. And then realize, oh, yeah, okay, it's all good. Um, so I love you guys. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I look forward to more conversations with all of you. If any of you have more questions, feel free to pop them in here, because on the replay, you can always come in and make comments too. And always, if you have questions, we're going to reach back. We'll use them for other lives as well. Because the whole goal is we all have the opportunity to get to choose to live an extraordinary life every day. Every day we get to choose that. And learning how to choose that is so worth it. You're so welcome, Barbara. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your participation because it really helps. And every time, someone asks questions and we talk about it, it's more aha moments for me too, just like for all of us. And this is a journey. How to build an extraordinary life is a journey. And we're so worthy of it. So you guys have a fantastic week. Can't wait to see you again next week. Feel free to pop back in. Any of the previous lives, you guys are able to go back and look at any time. And they're also on my YouTube channel. So have a great, great rest of your day. You're welcome, Debbie. You have an awesome day too. Love seeing you yesterday too. And we got to get together soon. Talk to y'all later.